see if this works, trying something new. Might be a little bit windy out here. If you're new to my channel, if you're new to this series, I'm doing something called the Summer Student Spotlight Series, which is a number of students I've taught over the years. I'm spotlighting a different student every week. These videos come out on Saturday, and what I want to do is try and do two things. One, I'm just trying to capture a moment, right? These students, as they're growing, as they're learning, as they're changing, I want to just mark this moment, and this gives them something to look back on in years to come after they've gone on to succeed in whatever they're going to succeed in. Two, I'm trying to bring hope to teachers that aren't sure what's going to happen to your students. It's a lot of times we get nervous, we get frightened for students. This is just to say, Pete Townsend was right. The kids are all right. These are kids that I think have either succeeded or on their way to succeed or are really just doing really beautiful things with their lives, and I just want to mark that moment and put the spotlight on the kids. This week, Donovan Smalls, I cannot say enough about this dude. I taught him many, many years ago. He is the student that has consistently surprised me with his motivation, with his ideas, with the action that he puts behind those ideas, and with all of the great stuff that he's willing to put into the world. He doesn't let what you might think of him define him. He defined himself, and he continues to do that. He has got to be easily one of the most memorable students that I've ever had. This quick story encapsulates most of what I want you to know about Donovan. In his freshman year, I took him on a class trip. I used to do these things called super secret class trips because I wasn't allowed to take class trips. So I would just tell the kids where I was gonna be, and then if they showed up, then we weren't really on a class trip together. We just kind of ended up in the same spot at the same time. Not really an official class trip. So Donovan goes with me to a school play at this small school in South Jersey, Winslow Township High School, and they were doing a play called Little Shop of Horrors. He had never seen a high school production like this. He was blown away by the play. We got a backstage tour, and they let him go up onto the stage and see how they made things. He got to talk to people and ask people questions. And a short while later, he comes up to me at school and he goes, "Reynolds, I have something I want you to read." He gives me a script for a play that he wrote called Gossip, and he says he wants to put on his own play. By his senior year, I had talked the school into letting me run a drama program, but really the drama program was just a ruse. It was just really so we could put on Donovan's play. And we did. When I say he put his heart and soul, he put his heart, his soul, his money, his effort, every single thing that he had into this. And then we put on his play at the school, and it was the biggest selling crowd that the school had ever seen. It was mobbed. We had to stop letting people in because they sold so many tickets. And that is who Donovan Smalls is. After high school, this guy goes on to go to Rutgers, New Brunswick, graduates from there, does semester at sea and travels all over the world. He then goes on to get his master's degree. He goes and teaches back at his old high school, runs a drama department that didn't even exist before he got there, starts that off, does plays, does outreach in the community, starts his own company called the Wanderlust Boys, does a photography company, has a clothing line for dogs. I mean, this dude is non-stop, unbelievable all the time. And today I bring to you my friend, Donovan Smalls. Can you tell everyone who you are and where you're from?
I'm Donovan T. Smalls. I'm from Camden, New Jersey. 25 years I lived in Camden my whole life. Yeah.
And so what do you do?
Right now I am a teacher. I've been teaching for 3 years right out of college. I wanted to give back to my community, so I came to teach at my old high school, which I thought was the best idea ever, especially since my sister went there. I have a couple nephews that were coming through. My sister and my cousin were there at the same time, so I thought it'd be good to give back and also come and see how the school has developed and changed over the years. It's kind of like my call to community service.
Why was that important to you?
I think it was important because, everybody always goes off to college, or you go away and you don't want to come back to your community because you feel like you've outgrown it. But for me, I felt like to come back to my community and give something back, I felt like that did something for me because I got to see that I was growing and that I wasn't the same person I was, let's say 4 years, or the 4 years that I was doing, that I was in high school. So that helped me build a little bit of tough skin, and it also helped me acknowledge that school and everything that goes on in school as far as technology and education wise, a lot has changed since I've been out of school, because over the years, you start to see a change as far as technology and the way that schools are ran and different things like that. So I felt like for me, and to see how the kids interacted with other students and how social media and everything played into their school system, because when I was in high school, that wasn't the case. You know, we had our disagreements and stuff like that, but Twitter and Instagram wasn't as popular as it is today. And to think that social media plays such a big part in your high school education, that was big for me.
Nice. What about, this doesn't have to be something that you learned in school, but for you, what's one of the best lessons that you ever learned?
One of the best lessons that I've ever learned was to not let anyone get the best of you. I feel like that's important, because you never know how creative and how driven you are, and a lot of times when people see you shine, or they see you doing better than, or doing something better than what they could do, you know, a lot of times they don't give you the proper praise or the respect you deserve. Or they think that you get too much, and it's like, if you work so hard for something, why not be acknowledged for it? I feel like that makes anybody, you know, being acknowledged for something as small as, you know, always the person that greets you at the door, always doing your work, always coming up with amazing ideas. I feel like that praise, even in the workplace, is something that's very important. I want to be acknowledged by my boss for doing something great. I shouldn't feel like, oh, this is going to go to your head, or this is going to make you feel some type of way. If you're a humble person and you get praised, that should make you feel like, everybody wants to feel like they're wanted, or they're needed for something, and that they have a purpose. And a lot of times, if you have to feel it within yourself before you're able to accept it from everybody else. So I felt like having somebody acknowledge that you're great, or acknowledging within yourself that you're great and you don't need anybody else to tell you that's important for me. You should be your first person of contact. Like, you should be the one that, you know, feels special within yourself first before you are able to welcome anybody else into your life. If you're able to welcome anybody else into your environment, you have to be that first person that feels good about yourself first, and then that outpour of love pours into other people. And that's how you get great people in your circle. When you give love and you're doing everything, great people will come. You don't have to be like, be my friend, be my friend. Those great people will come because they know that you're a great person.
How does that play into teaching for you?
Oh, with me, to be a teacher, you have to be original, you have to be creative, and you have to know what students want. And that's what was important for me to come back to teach in my high school, because I already knew, you know, I knew that we needed to go on more trips. I knew that fun needed to happen in the classroom. It wasn't just book work. But, you know, the reason why students love you is because they can relate. You know, I didn't want to go teach at a school and I couldn't relate to the environment. Because a lot of times the schools that I went to, we had a whole bunch of teachers who went home to their neighborhoods, their nice fancy cars, and they couldn't relate. You know, they didn't know what we were coming to school with. They didn't know, you know, if the issue.
If you could see this setup now, because my camera wanted to stop working, you would be amazed. Can you say again real quick, how does your greatest lesson, this idea of like you like feeling great about yourself, or like letting yourself know that you're great, how does that play into your teaching?
I think it's important because on a daily, I think you get hit with issues as far as like administration or student issues, and you have to be comfortable with yourself dealing with those type of issues. A lot of times they're student related, so a lot of times students will come to you with issues, and for me, if I don't know how to handle them, if you know something's not right within me, or I'm not in a good mood today, that might affect how I react to certain students or the issues that they might have, or whatever arises at that time. So I think it's important for me to know, you know, I'm going into work, everything that I have or that I'm going through, I need to put that on a back burner, because my idea is that I'm here for the kids. And once you know that you're here for the kids, anything that goes on with the administration, anything that goes up that's beyond your power, you won't think about it, because you know that at the end of the day, what you're fighting for is you're fighting for the kids' success. And through their success, that's where I find my success. So I feel like that's very important for me. And once you know that as a teacher, as an adult, because a lot of times with adults, they feel like the authoritative role comes into play. And a lot of times they take it up a notch and they treat kids or the young adults like kids, and they don't want to be treated like kids. So you have to find that balance. You have to know what the kids want, and once you know what the kids want, you're able to adjust your feelings and everything to them and let what you have going on surround them, and that's what I find to be very important.
So one of the things I thought was amazing about you ever since freshman year was your your ability to, like, you were always doing your own thing, right? Like, it never looked like it was thrown off course. Whether that was being really, really creative or really silly or really thoughtful about things. How were you able to be that as such a young kid? And even now, I mean, like, this is a time of life when people are not always doing their own thing.
I think you have to look at yourself and you have to say, like, self, although that's very generic. You have to say self, like, this is what I want to do. And you look around at all the people. I never wanted to be a Camden statistic. I never wanted to be just like anybody else. I had a room in my room. I had pictures of, celebrities that I looked up to. I had quotes and stuff that I looked up to. I had a journal. I was writing. I had, like, a crazy small little YouTube page, and I was making all my videos and stuff like that. So you look for things that will bring everything full circle and will make you feel like special about your own self. And it's like staying in your lane. A lot of times everybody wants all these friends, but with friends come drama, and once you learn that, you just like, look, I'm gonna be myself. If you want to be my friend, that's great, but it's not going to stop me from achieving what I want. And I think when you have great friends in your life or in your past, or like great teachers or great parents who keep you on the right track, I think that's important, and that was important to me. I didn't go to high school. Like, it was great if I made my mom proud, but that wasn't my idea. I wanted to make my own self proud. Like, my mom had her time in high school, my dad had his time in high school. Whatever they did was what they did. I knew at the end of the day, I wanted to make myself proud, and I wanted to go where I wanted to go. So I felt like that was important. And you just know, like, a lot of times kids are involved in some crazy things, and is this going to get me to the next level? Is this going to get me where I need to be? Yes, we're friends, but just because she's my friend, I don't always agree with some of the stuff she does. Does that mean I'm going to do it? No. But that's my friend at the same time. And it's all about centering yourself around positive people. When you have positive people in your life, positive role models, they keep you on the path. I was always thinking, how do I get to the next level? Okay, how do I get my master's? Okay, I got my bachelor's. Okay, now how do I get my doctorate? When you surround yourself with other doctors and other people doing great things, all you can see is the road to greatness, and you know that you need to get there. And that's something that I continue to strive for. And you just challenge yourself. Don't get bored with yourself. A lot of times people get bored with themselves. Find stuff that will keep your energy growing and your mind thinking and becoming creative. If that's making shirts, if that's traveling, you can travel on a budget. Trust me, I've done it. And a lot of times people are like, how do you do it? How do you do it? I'm like, look, this is what I did. And they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, look, I'm not the richest person, but I will make it seem like that because it's all about finding deals. It's all about finding ways around, $500 here. Now I'll find this and I'll do it for $200 tops. And we just make it work.
Nice. What's next for you?
Next for me is Jump. If you ever read Steve Harvey's book, I read it and I was just like, look, his book is all about you letting go of all the things that you feel trapped. You feel trapped in Camden. If you feel trapped in your own world, it's taking that leap of faith. Although it might be scary, although a lot of times you might be afraid your parachute will not open. I felt like once I read that book, I was like, it's time for me to get out and travel. It's time for me. I'm 25, I came back for 3 years. I taught at the school that I went to school at. I gave back. I did community service. I envisioned Dramatic Academy. I brought it to life. We put on shows. We put on musicals. You see your creativity and you see what you've done with it. And now it's like, Smalls, we have to take this to the next level. Smalls, now we have to take this to an even higher level. We have to reach the masses, and that's something that's been important for me. Owning my own performing arts company, that was something big. Traveling, Wanderlust boys, just, in general. We thought about Wanderlust flights. We thought about, like Wanderlust cruises, like so many great things that when you start envisioning.
Lawn care services also? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so we thought about all types of crazy things, and we were like, you sat and you envisioned Dramatic Academy, you brought it to life. And I feel like every time I sit down and I write about something, and then when you dream about something and you bring it to life. That year I wrote that play, it was just on a piece of paper, and to see it brought to life and see the students bring it to life, it's like, wow, what next?
Deal.
It's a big deal.
It's
when
like
you
can actually do it.
And you're like,
I actually did something.
You actually did something, and it actually benefited the students. I always hear, Smalls, I know you're not going to, continue to teach here, but I'm proud that we had you for that moment that we did, and we learned so much, because I was only 22 teaching. What did I know? You know what I mean? I'm still growing just like they're growing. Yeah. So I felt like that was best, and I'm really just living. And when people ask me what's next, I'm like, look, I don't even know what's next tomorrow, but I think that's the best part. Before, when I was younger, I always had a planner, and I always was planning, and then I had to take a step back. I'm like, Smalls, if I lost my planner today, which I did, I was like, what would happen? I was like, I don't really know, because I planned everything out.
Yeah.
And my friend was like, why don't you just stop planning and just live? I mean, there's certain stuff that you can plan out, but for the most part, if this happens, because I'm mad if it didn't happen the way it was supposed to. I'm like, look, 2:30, this is supposed to happen. If it doesn't happen at this time, or if the balloons don't fly out of the hat at a certain time, then, my life is over. And I had to take a step back, and I'm like, look, you're in Paris. You're in California. Many people dream of coming here, and you dreamed about this place all your life, and now you're here. Stop worrying about because it rained, it ruined your day. We were just in New Orleans, and it rained for like 2 days, and we still went out. I'm like, people are outside. It must have been regular, because people were outside, regular, walking. It was pouring down, and people
probably
had
had really nice rain gear too, didn't you?
A nice Wanderlust apparel. But it was nice. So I just thought, just wherever I want to be, that's where I want to be. I have 5 years. I know that I want my life to be set by 30, but I said I have 5 years to really figure it out and get to where I want to be. I want to have my career, marriage, kids. Like, that's everything that I envision that I want by 30.
All right, I hope this picks this up and doesn't cut out. But real quick, what I want to just say is, like, one of the things that really interests me about doing this, like I said before, was like, this is like a snapshot in your life, and then to see what you're going to do next. Because since freshman year, I just remember like your Harlem Renaissance project, right? It was like on point, or the locker that when you opened it, it had music and the disco ball. It's always been a step above what anyone else was doing. I think that's one of the reasons you've stayed on my radar so much. Really, I mean, you've always been super likable, and like, you're always really thoughtful, but you're always up to something that makes me always go like, what's Donovan up to? What are those guys doing? And I just love that, man, because, you see so many kids go through your classroom, and I mean, this as a teacher, like, sometimes you want more for your students than they actually want for themselves, or you see someone's greatness and they don't go all in on something, and I really think that you've always gone all in, and it's really, really, really impressive, and I literally can't wait to see what's next. Like, I would love to get a snapshot of what you look like in 10 years and what's going down, because it's going to be rad, and then I'll just get to be that guy that's like, I knew that dude. So thanks a lot, man, for doing this.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Reynolds.
I give the most awkward hugs. I'm trying.
No, I tell my friends that all the time. You gotta hug, hold in tight.
That's it.
That's it.
It's my next video. How to
hug.
Like I said in the beginning, Donovan is that guy that I'm so excited to see what he's going to do next. And even with this change, I'm sad to see him move, but I'm even more excited to see what he's